recently led a workshop on gratitude and anxiety, and the conversations that came out of it were so powerful that I knew I needed to share this with you on the podcast. So many of us are walking around believing that anxiety is something we need to fear and defeat. That if we're feeling anxious, something has gone wrong or that there is something wrong with us. But what if that isn't even true? What if anxiety is actually trying to teach us something important? And what if gratitude, real grounded gratitude, is one of the most powerful spiritual tools we have to quiet the noise enough to hear what anxiety is really saying? Welcome to the Seasons of Joy podcast. My name is Jill Pack, and this is episode number 178, entitled From Anxious to Anchored. And I'm so glad that you're here today. Have you ever found yourself lying in bed at night and your mind is racing, where your brain just won't turn off? Maybe you're anxious about a conversation you need to have with one of your adult children, and you're worried about how it's going to go. Maybe you're playing out all the scenarios in your head, and most of them are not very good. Maybe your heart is beating fast. Your stomach is tight, and you just feel this heaviness in your chest. The thing about anxiety is it is just your nervous system trying to keep you safe. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling the way that you're feeling. You don't need to fight it off or push it away. You just need to soften it, to be curious about what it's trying to teach you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Gratitude as a spiritual tool to tame anxiety. Not to eliminate it, but to soften it, because anxiety is part of being human. We want to just quiet it enough that we can hear what it's really trying to tell us. So let me ask you this question. What do you even think anxiety is? I used to think anxiety was this monster that I needed to defeat. Something bad, something that was wrong with me. But the reality is anxiety is just an emotion, and emotions are just labels for the sensations happening in our bodies. Those sensations, they're signals from our nervous system, which is the communication system between our brain and our body, and it's trying to keep us safe. This system is absolutely amazing when we are facing real danger, like being chased by a bear. But it can be really challenging when there's no actual danger because our brains don't know the difference between real danger and perceived danger. Our nervous system is just always scanning, always looking for threats, so that when we're experiencing feelings of anxiety, our nervous system is giving us information about our real and perceived safety. A lot of us experience anxiety when we're feeling something unknown. We're viewing that experience through a lens. One of my mentors, Amy Gianni, calls it the context filter. And that's the lens we look through. And everyone's lens is different and unique. I want you to understand this, that anxiety isn't bad or wrong. It's part of being human. We all experience it at one time or another. When we believe it's bad or wrong, we actually are trying to push it away, which can make it worse. But when we can accept it as part of this earthly journey, and we can have compassion for ourselves along the way, we don't have to fight against it. And let's be honest here, being human can be difficult. It can be hard. And we're going to feel anxious, overwhelmed, disappointed, and frustrated sometimes. And when we can understand this, it empowers us to learn from our emotions. Our emotions are giving us information. Instead of trying to fight anxiety off, we can begin to soften it. And when we can begin to soften and quiet those feelings of anxiety, our clear thinking adult brain comes back online. We have access to that clear thinking, and we gain awareness around what our anxiety is actually trying to teach us. One of the spiritual tools that I use when I experience feelings of anxiety is gratitude. Now, I'm not saying we're going to slap a positive spin on our pain or our difficulty. Gratitude is not toxic positivity. It's not pretending that everything is fine. It's not bypassing real pain or real struggle. Instead, gratitude is grounding. When we can take the time to pause and reflect, whether it's in a gratitude journal or just in your mind, something happens to our bodies. Our breathing may slow down, our shoulders, our jaws may relax, the tightness in our chest might ease just a bit. This is grounding. It's about coming back to the present moment and connecting to what is real and true right in front of us. And when we ground ourselves, we're better able to tap into the spiritual tool of gratitude. Dr. Robert Emmons, who is the world's leading gratitude researcher, discovered something powerful. He said this, quote, "Gratitude is an emotion that reflects our deep appreciation for what we value, what brings meaning to our lives, and what makes us feel connected to ourselves and others." Did you catch that? Connected. When we feel gratitude, we feel less alone. And when we feel less alone, anxiety loses some of its power over us. Your anxieties often reveal your values as well. Think about it. If you're anxious about your child, it's because you value family. If you're anxious about finances, it's because you value security and safety. If you're anxious about a relationship, it's because you value connection. Gratitude helps us see what we value, and that is powerful knowledge. When we're lying in our bed at night, anxious about that conversation we're going to have with our adult child, what could our anxiety be telling us? It could be telling us how much we value that relationship, how much we want to get it right, how much we care, how deeply we want connection with this child that we love. And here's where gratitude comes in. Instead of spiraling in anxiety about all the ways that conversation could go wrong, we could ground ourselves in gratitude for the relationship itself, for the privilege of being this person's mother, for all the beautiful moments we have shared, for the fact that we care so deeply about them. Now, the anxiety doesn't disappear, but it can soften, it can quiet enough for us to remember who we want to be in that conversation. Now, this isn't just feel-good thinking. There is real science behind this. Gratitude doesn't just make us feel better. It actually changes our brains. It changes our perspective. It gives us power over our feelings of anxiety. Scripture confirms this. We are commanded to give thanks in all things, not for all things, but in all things. Even in the midst of our struggles and our anxieties, we can find things to be grateful for. I also think of the Savior in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he is experiencing the most intense anxiety and anguish imaginable. And what did he do? He prayed. He connected to his Father. He grounded himself in what was true, his mission, his love for us, and his Father's plan. He didn't pretend that anxiety wasn't there. He asked if the cup could pass from him. He was real about his suffering. He was honest about his suffering. But he also stayed connected to gratitude for what he valued most, which was his relationship with the Father and his love for all of us. So how do we do this? How do we use gratitude as a spiritual tool to tame anxiety? First, gratitude isn't vague. It's specific. And specific gratitude softens specific anxiety. So instead of "I'm grateful for everything," try "I'm grateful for my teenager actually talking to me at dinner last night." Instead of "I'm grateful for my family," try "I'm so grateful for the way my husband made me laugh this morning when I was taking myself too seriously." Instead of "I'm thankful for nature," maybe try "I'm grateful for the way the sun comes up over the mountains and the beams of light touch the whole valley." The more specific you can be, the more grounding it becomes. And I also wanted to invite you to notice your anxiety. When we can notice our anxiety with curiosity instead of judgment, when we feel that tightness in our chest or the racing in our minds, we can pause, take a breath. And if that doesn't feel good to you, because sometimes the slowing down can maybe feel a little safe, maybe you need to move a little bit. Maybe you need to walk around a little bit or rub your hands together. You could shake your hands out, or you could put your hands on your chest, whatever it is. The key is to bring you back into the present moment and to show yourself that you are safe here. And then you can ask yourself, what is this anxiety trying to teach me? What do I value that's showing up in this feeling? And then this is the critical part. Find something specific to be grateful for related to that value. So if you're anxious about a relationship, what's one thing you're grateful for about that particular person? If you're anxious about a decision you need to make, what's one thing you're grateful for about having the agency and ability to choose? If you're anxious about the unknown, what's one thing you're grateful for that you do know? The feelings of anxiety that I have experienced as I've navigated this season of life, especially around parenting my adult children, has taught me so much. I am so grateful for the opportunity to be their mom. I'm grateful for the amazing humans they are now and who they're becoming. I'm grateful that my children have taught me how to love in a way I didn't know was possible. I'm so grateful for the gift of being trusted with these sacred relationships, even when they're hard. When I slow down and I settle into gratitude, things shift inside of me. The anxiety I feel around some of their choices is still there because I'm human and I care deeply. But I also feel grounded, connected, clear about who I want to be in those relationships. Now, this doesn't mean there aren't hard moments or that things always go perfectly, but I am more likely to show up as the person I want to be. I listen more than I defend. I stay curious instead of getting defensive. And I offer grace to my child and to myself. Now, this is only possible when I ground myself first because I can use gratitude as a spiritual tool to soften my anxiety enough to think clearly. I talk a lot about life being messy on this podcast, which includes the positive and negative parts of life. Sometimes I call this the 50-50 rule. We will face this contrast during our human experience on earth. This opposition creates opportunities to learn, grow, and become more of who we want to be and who we were meant to be if we allow it to. But when we resist this reality, our experience becomes more like a 60-40 or a 70-30 in the negative direction. Having the belief that we should be happy all the time or that we shouldn't experience negative emotion actually creates more negative emotion in our lives. But by leaning into and embracing this contrast of life, we can actually benefit from it. We can create space for more positive emotion. Gratitude helps us do this. It doesn't eliminate the negative 50%, and it's not supposed to, but it helps us stay grounded in the reality that life includes both ease and difficulty, both anxiety and peace, both struggle and beauty. And when we can hold both at the same time, we experience what I believe is true joy. So here's my invitation to you this week. Notice when you feel anxious. Don't judge it. Don't try to push it away. Just notice it with curiosity. And then ask yourself, what does this anxiety reveal about what I value? And then find one specific thing, just one, to be grateful for related to that value. Ground yourself to connect to what's real and true in this moment. Let gratitude be your spiritual tool to soften that anxiety enough that your clear thinking brain can come back online. Now, you don't have to do this perfectly. This isn't about adding one more thing to your list of to-dos or one more way you're not doing it right. This is just simply an invitation to experiment, to be curious, to see what happens when you bring gratitude in the presence of your anxiety. Now, I believe that as we do this, we will discover what Dr. Emmons found, that gratitude makes us feel connected to ourselves, to others, and to God. And when we feel connected, we feel less alone. And when we feel less alone, anxiety loses its grip. Now remember, there's nothing wrong with you for feeling anxious. You're not broken, you're human. And being human means experiencing the full range of emotions, including anxiety. But you don't have to let anxiety run your life. You have tools, and gratitude is one of the most powerful spiritual tools we have access to. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your attention, and I'm so grateful for this community. I'll see you next time.